Odra Nyama. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you back here again. And this time I have the honor of interviewing you.
Thank you.
So tell us briefly what we need to know about cervical cancer.
Okay, so cervical cancer in general has to do with abnormal growth of cells at the cervix. And what we're saying is that this abnormal growth should come about as a result of HPV infection. So you can have cervical cancer, but it could be a cancer from the uterus or the endometrium that has spread to the cervix. It means it wasn't caused by the HPV virus, yes. So the cervical cancer that starts at the entrance or the tip of the cervix is what we are describing here, and that is mostly caused by the human papilloma virus, where we usually say HPV. And the issue is that we usually call it a silent killer because when one is exposed to this virus, it can hide and persist between 10 to 15 years before they start causing the change we see at the cervix. So that's how the HPV behaves.
Silent operator.
Silent operator. And within this period too, we have women with good immunity that their system can clear it. So someone can be exposed, the system can clear it unknown to her. But then we can't tell whose system will clear it and whose system will not. And so all we are saying is that we have to screen and be sure that, okay, is the person exposed? If the person is exposed, what can we do to even prevent the virus from causing the disease in the first place?
Okay.
Yes.
You got some images you want to show us?
So basically, we're looking at the anatomical structure of the woman's reproductive system, and this is the uterus. So the neck or the entrance to the uterus, that is the cervix. This is the part we are talking about. And usually, this is the vagina.
This is where the penis goes?
Yes, it goes here.
And ends here?
And ends here.
Okay.
Sometimes, depending on the state of the cervix or the position during the sex, it can hit at the tip of the cervix.
What kind of position is that? I'm curious.
Oh.
No, we want to know. It's for public education.
Well,
these back to front positions can cause that.
even with a normal missionary position,
okay.
Sometimes if someone has a bit longer cervix, and then also depending on the size of the manhood, you can have some it hitting at the tip of the cervix.
Is that dangerous?
It's okay. From what I hear, it causes some little pain or it makes it uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And the vagina is too big, like it's an elastic thing, else it wouldn't be able to accommodate a whole baby being born. And so, yes.
Yeah, so it expands and contracts.
Exactly,
Fantastic.
yes.
Where is the vagina?
This is it.
Okay.
That's what is thrown into these folds.
Okay.
So it stretches during childbirth.
All right.
And then this is the cervix. So this is the entrance to the womb. I'm trying to use the lay person, yes, to the womb. So at the entrance here, this is where the virus will attach themselves and then begin to just wait in time to begin to cause destruction.
Like armed robbers waiting to ambush you.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So it will start like this and then begins to spread.
Ooh.
And it gets to a stage that it gets to spread outside. And then other organs begins to be affected. So that is what happens. So when we just look at
let's flip it. Let's flip it. Okay.
Basically, so this is a very fine cervix.
This is how it should look like normally.
It's pink in color with a round tip like a dimple in it. That is the opening. And so it begins like this, something small here.
This is where the attack has begun.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you see it at the small side when you put it in a speculum, and then it begins to spread. Now you can see that it has even spread outside to other nearing organs. Yes, and it will be going up to the womb, to the fallopian tube, other lymph nodes.
Is this where the baby it grows?
Yes, this is where the baby grows.
That's the womb?
That's the womb.
Okay.
Or the uterus,
All
yes.
right.
So basically that's...
Okay, great. Anything else you want to show us?
So...
this one?
What we are saying is that there are different strains of the HPV, and we have the high risk and the low risk type. So type 16 and type 18 is categorized as the high risk type, and that is what causes about 70 to 75% of the cervical cancer cases. The type 6 and type 11 causes genital warts. Genital warts are like growth, and usually we report late with most of these genital warts. So they will come like cauliflower, and people in tree parlance will say koko ACC me ho.
You have pictures of here?
These are all genital warts.
Okay, let me just give you the warning first,
Like,
because some of the images can be quite distressing.
Distressing.
All right, okay, now let's go.
So these are the genital warts that begins to grow, and these are all warts which are all HPV infections.
Wow.
Yes, and they've waited to report at these stages, and these images are from Ghana.
This is just...
Yes, so when we did a surgery, like you have to take everything off. Just leave a small hole for the... So early detection, early reporting is what we're really advocating for. And the HPV can be carried on our fingers. So we scrape cells at this and then realize it was an HPV infection. Yes. It affects other parts. And what we are saying is that men pick the virus and infect women.
Where do they pick it from?
Through sex.
Okay.
But then they don't have cervix. So they won't get cervical cancer.
What would they get?
They will get the penile cancer, the throat cancer, the anal cancer, depending on the kind of sex or they are having.
What are the kind of sex that they should not be having?
People do licking, people do
Okay, so oral
genital,
sex is dangerous.
yes.
Anal sex too is dangerous.
Very.
Okay.
So
Warnings.
basically that is it. So we don't want people to think that, okay, because I'm a man, and people also have the notion that, okay, I can use a condom. Condom is a barrier method. It doesn't give 100% protection. It can burst. So you're not sure you are protecting yourself entirely. And even if you are doing it casually, the thing is that, okay, I might be being faithful, but is my partner also being, which you wouldn't know?
That's the question.
Yes. And so, and basically because all these early stages when one is infected, because you don't see it until you scream, you wouldn't know. And the thing is that Ghana Health Service has a policy that we should screen women above 45 years with pap smear and less than 45 with VIA. That is visual inspection with acetic acid. Now, the visual inspection with acetic acid, what happens is that when you apply the acetic acid and the normal pink color changes into white, then we can say that something has started occurring at the cervix. That is when the condition is visible to the eye. And with the pap, it can also come out as negative because the virus haven't caused any change at the cervix yet. So pap will say it's negative, but it doesn't rule out the fact that one is exposed. So that's how come we're pushing for HPV DNA testing, because that will detect your exposure.
What exactly is involved with this HPV DNA testing?
So the good thing about HPV DNA testing is that it is self-sampling, because we've realized that women struggle to come to the facility because we have to insert a speculum to take the sample and take it to the lab during the pap smear.
What are they worried about?
The speculum insertion and other thing, they feel it's a bit uncomfortable.
Do they want to die?
Sadly, that is what we're doing. And about more than half of the cases detected yearly result in death because they always report late.
So people will wait for stuff to be all around their private parts before they come to the hospital?
They would want to resort to maybe self-medication, try all other means and other things. So usually by the time they report, it's late.
How lethal is this disease in Ghana? I mean, what's the mortality rate?
Last year, we had about 3,000 new cases, and out of the 3,000, we had more than 1,600 dying.
What are the age ranges?
So now that's the thing. We're getting it in younger people a lot.
How young?
Like we had like 32-year-old. We have less than. So yesterday, a friend was telling me that her colleague died last year, and she was just 29 of the disease. And so if we are saying that one is exposed between 10 to 15 years before the disease, now we want to ask ourselves at what age
did they start having sex?
Yes.
And it's only passed through sex?
Not entirely, but greater percentage is through sex. But if a woman has it and is in the advanced stage and it breaks the placenta barrier and she's pregnant, for instance, she can infect the baby in the womb.
The baby can also get HPV.
Exactly, yes,
cervical.
yes. And mind you, if it's normal delivery, baby is walking through the cervix.
Yes.
We have people that can have it, and in the early or late stages can have this abnormal discharges.
Do you have pictures?
So when they sit on the washroom with this abnormal discharge, if they don't clean it well, and then another woman goes to sit on, because of how our vaginal opening is, you can pick it, and it is an ascending infection. So it will just go up, mixes with your fluid that is coming through your vagina, and then you can be infected. And as I'm saying, that someone can also pick it from, and then even if you are fingered and the person is carrying it on the fingers, the person can, so you might think, oh, we didn't have sex as in the normal
penetrative,
yes, coital. But then coital thing, but then you can still be infected. And mostly by the time you are diagnosing, then the question is, where did they even come in contact with it? And they wouldn't remember.
Because the contact tracing that we did for COVID is almost next to impossible with this. If
COVID was like an upper respiratory tract, and you are talking to imagine the number of people you are interviewing in a week. And so if you test positive for COVID, then we might as well have a record to even say that. But if we are looking at 10 years,
that's a long time.
You can't even remember.
Yeah.
And as I'm saying, you might have been with one person, but has that one person also been with
you?
Exactly.
That's the question.
Yes.
So HPV DNA testing, how does it work? How much does it cost?
So HPV DNA testing at my facility, this is all that we use.
What is this?
It's a swab stick. So when you come, or it means what we are promoting is that it's a self-sampling. You, the woman, gets to take the sample yourself.
Do you train them?
No, when you come, I'll just demonstrate it to you how it is done. So it's just this swab stick. Then you pull it out gently. Make sure you wash your hands very well when you get to the washroom. So when you get to the washroom, you put one of your feet on top of the pot, and then you insert the stick in. You turn it in the same direction about 10 times.
Okay, so
and usually when you stand,
where are we inserting
you insert it through the vagina.
How far do you go? How far do you go?
You just have to make sure the red portion doesn't enter into the vagina.
So this is going in as far as, and then this red must end here.
Yes. No, it has to end at the vulva.
At the vulva.
At the entrance.
What is the vulva for those who don't know?
The outside genitalia that we see.
Where the hair is sometimes.
Where the hair is,
okay,
yes.
Right.
That is the vulva.
Okay.
So as for the vagina, you can't see it.
Okay.
Yes. So when it goes in, and as you stand, the cervix will drops into the vagina. So when you insert this thing in, it is able to pick cells at the tip of the cervix.
That's what you want.
That's what we want. Okay. And then we take it to the lab.
Why do you want them to put their foot on the WC?
Oh, just to open up this entrance so that for easy insertion of this. Because when you stand close, it will be difficult even inserting.
So like open gate, I guess.
Something like that. Yes. And then it goes in, and then you turn it in the same direction. So by the time you pull out,
you turn.
Yes.
Okay.
Just be turning it like this, and then it will pick cells.
And then you put it back quickly where?
You put into the cup.
Okay.
And that's all. You've taken your sample.
That's all.
So that's all. Then we take it to the lab and run it. And because it's a DNA thing, it's able to magnify. And the good thing is that we are able to also isolate the strain.
This HPV has many strains?
Over 200 strains.
Lord.
But we are much particular about type 16 and type 18 because the two are categorized as high risk. So we want to be sure that at least your exposure is not any of these two.
Okay.
Because the others, the rate at which they can cause other cancers are minimal compared to the type 16 and type 18.
How long will it take for the results to come back?
Oh, in about a week, your results is ready.
How much does it cost?
My facility, we take 250 cedis for HPV DNA testing.
Would you want to have this test on the National Health Insurance?
That is what we are pushing.
3,000 people are getting it every year.
Exactly. And then if we are saying that even the VIA, which is the basic one that we apply the acetic acid, is still not even on the NHIs. And it's not everybody that can afford, but at least let's make the basic one, pap smear or VIA on the National Health Insurance. And if this can detect it before the disease stage, then why do we have to wait till the disease starts occurring before we detect it?
Good question. Quickly before we go, how often should HPV DNA testing be done?
If you screen and you are negative, you are mandated to repeat after 5 years.
Okay. Anything you want to add to this conversation as we wrap this up?
So all I would want to admonish is that women should pause and screen. because until you screen, you wouldn't know whether you've been infected or not. Everything has to do with screening. Usually when you realize you are negative, then there's a high possibility that you want to live a life to protect your status.
That's all.
But if you don't know, you are just walking about, and by the time you realize, it is too late. So women are to screen. Please screen. That's until you screen, you wouldn't know. And we have the vaccine also, which children between 9 to 14 years, because we are saying that they haven't been sexually active, they can be given the vaccine to build immunity against future exposure.
All right.
And adults who screen and are negative are also to take the vaccine to build immunity against, because it's a preventable and it's a curable disease.
Let's keep screaming for women to screen. Thank you so much, Ikea Udra Nyama, public health nurse and midwife from Animas Health, and you've told us about HPV DNA testing. Keep doing the good work, and thank you for the education.
Thank you.
And you can find this conversation on our Facebook page, GTV Ghana. And for those of you who are night owls, if you check out GTV on channel 278 DSTV or free to air, 11:30 p.m., you will get the same conversation. But if you can't wait till 11:30 p.m., just go to Facebook and look for GTV Ghana and follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've got conversations on a whole range of issues. Mining, we've got the Miss Universe Ghana who's going to be here. I have Oscar Provençal and Kofi Capito sitting here for the headlines. Nananum 2003 year group are going to be here with us. But ahead of that, sports news with Maltiti Saida Sadiq. She's coming up in 30 seconds.